far as I can see, is that they choose to stop somewhere along the way, or they break down.
See.
Okay, see, that's not a plan. See, that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. We are chasing nothing. See? Okay. Okay, we go to Texas and you kill them both.
It's a good plan.
Yeah, see? Yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Disner. I'm a production sound mixer, which means I record people talking on the sets of films, TV shows, corporate shoots, all that kind of stuff. But about 20 plus years ago now, approaching 25 years ago, I got into recording sound for independent films. And there were a lot of people making these little indie films at the time, low budget films, and that was a great way to get started with my career. This was a film I worked on that I'm not even sure the year, 97, 98 maybe, it was finished. It was called Midnight Mambo, and it's a comedy road trip movie. And today we are going to talk to the director, Phil Marino, about the film that he made, and also some of the crew members. Laurie Grabowski, Ron Baldwin, and Kevin Maloney will come on to go over their memories of the film as well. This is a little, I don't even know what this is. It's not even a podcast. It's on Zoom. So whatever this thing is, I'm calling it Poor Man's Process, and this is episode 1. And let's go ahead and talk to Phil now. It is a pleasure to see you. We've talked on Facebook, etc., for the past few years, but I don't think I've seen you in person as much as I'm seeing you in person here since 98?
98, I think, right? 98, 99, in that range.
Yeah. Did we have a screening of Midnight Mambo? Did we all get together or anything?
Yeah. My memory is we did something. I don't know how many were attended by everyone. I know that we held something at what's the place in Burbank where you get your film?
CFI or something.
Or Photocam.
Photocam.
Is that it? Yeah.
It was one or the other.
Yeah, they had screening rooms there, and we had some people come in. We invited like agents and things, and that didn't go very well.
Yeah.
It was fine. I mean, it was just what it was. But then we did have somehow or another, we rented out a big theater cinema in Hollywood or somewhere one night. And had a lot of people come to that.
Yeah,
and I do remember that. Yeah, and then of course it played in festivals like in Arizona that I went to, one in Phoenix and some other ones. But
cool. Yeah, I mean the whole reason why I was inspired to do this, besides the fact that we have a worldwide pandemic and what the hell else is there to do, is it was a really unique opportunity to get to work on these films, especially if they had merit. And we all worked on a bunch of crap back then, and softcore porn for Playboy and anything you did to pay the bills. That was a nice revenue stream, back in the 90s.
I bet.
But I mean, even if people won't admit it, a lot of people worked on those things. There was a company called Mystique Films, and they would do one after the other after the other.
Clever.
The problem was if you did one, they'd just keep calling you for the next and the next and the next, and you would just
and paying you. That's the problem.
Yeah,
right?
Well, yeah, it was steady work. Every 3 weeks they would do one. They would shoot for 3 weeks. They'd take a couple weeks off and then back again. But anyway, when I think of the films that I worked on that I'm really proud of, that I really have good memories of, that were an experience, an adventure, all that kind of stuff. Of course, we're talking about Midnight Mambo, which was a road movie.
Larry, it'll be a couple minutes. I got a seriously stricken motorist here. What's the trouble, boys?
Oh, you mean besides the fact that it doesn't move unless you push it?
You tried starting it? What happens?
This.
You get a little ticking sound at least?
Well, it's more like a single click.
Mm-hmm. It's electrical.
Look, we don't have a lot of cash.
Well, let me see what I can do. I think I found the culprit. boys been taking this thing off-roading recently?
You telling me you didn't see that in there?
We started in LA or wherever and ended up, where did we go in Arizona?
Well, we went to, excuse me, well, we certainly went to Scottsdale, Tempe,
Yeah.
Phoenix, and those regions. I think Ross Cobb, who was the co-producer, took us to some out-of-the-way places as well, just to get some decent, like, middle-of-nowhere shots. We eventually, myself, Ross, and Ted Jacobs, the cinematographer, went all the way to Galveston and drove all the way through.
Oh, right.
And then back again, which
with that
was
same
a crazy
car.
fucking town. Yeah, well, we had the
Towing
car, but it was we were towing it behind a huge Ryder, empty, like you would be moving a couple households. That's the only thing we could get that had a hitch, and so that was weird because we got very windy on the road, and this thing was just really, there was no weight to it, and we were pulling this car. It was a nightmare to drive, and then. Ross rented a car and followed Ted and I as we were driving all the way through and went there.
Gotcha. Yeah. Is Ted still around? Somebody had said
I was going to ask you. I had no idea.
It's funny how small this little world of indie film was, even in LA. And I don't remember what order it was in, but Ted was also the DP on this film I did called Completely, Totally, Utterly, which was also directed by a guy named Phil. And
that was before that. He had done that before I hired him. Yeah.
I feel like it was before.
Yeah.
And that was actually a really funny movie too, about two kids that dig up a dead body from a graveyard for Halloween or whatever. And Ted was the DP on that. So not only did I already know Ted, who was, shooting your film, Wendy Latta was also in a film called Born to Lose. She was the lead in this punk rock movie that I was a boom operator on before I was even mixing. And she was in your film too. So
No, mi amor. Auto, like ouch. Auto. Muy bien. Mira. Oye, what do you call it?
That's soap, Carla.
No, Tonino, en español. Jabón.
Looking good.
Qué bien.
Hey, boss, let me ask you something. When are the owners coming to take these cars?
These cars? Oh, these cars are dead. I just ravaged them for parts. I'm kidding. Senor Martinez.
Sí, mo.
I was thinking it would be nice if you made us dinner tonight. He said he knows his way around the kitchen. You could think of it as another favor.
No, it's not a favor, Mo. It's a pleasure.
Great. We'll use whatever you can find in the kitchen. There's not much, but you don't exactly see a food world around.
That's no problem. I make do.
Oh, don't make do again. We had it 3 times last week.
Okay. I think I'm gonna go wash up. I need a break.
You know, one of these days she's gonna realize what a great guy I am.
Tonino, you try too hard.
You think so?
too. So you'd always be on these sets and you would know, like half a dozen people already,
Amazing. I didn't know that. I didn't know that Wendy had worked on a film that you worked on. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you should check it out. Born to Lose is around. It's available on DVD, VHS. You can probably get it for $1.99 or whatever on Amazon. and there's certainly a trailer or whatever. It was made by a Canadian guy named Doug Cocker. And it was a cool little punk rock film. Again, same, just indie, shoestring, no budget, low budget, that kind of stuff. But
cool.
let's go all the way back to the beginning here. And I'm trying to remember the stuff too, how I even ended up on your film. But most likely,
I don't know.
most of my jobs I got for sound mixing, I would go to Variety or Hollywood Reporter magazine. I would just send a letter. I'd send, I'd send out 10 resumes and say I'm a sound mixer, and I'd get a job out of it. It was just.
I think those were the two. Yeah, those were the two trades I think we advertised for everything. Basically, that's how Ted was the first person hired as the DP, and I think it was one of those two. And I didn't get many returns. So it wasn't to say like, oh, I picked him because I didn't have many options. We enjoyed each other's company right away, and there weren't that many people who submitted, so we just went with there. And then either he knew you and recommended you, or again, one of the Variety or Hollywood Reporter ads you must have.
Yeah,
so it could have been that he recommended you.
It could be possible,
from the other job,
because we had done the other one. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And so Midnight Mambo basically is a road movie about you, a guy who's a waiter who goes off with the dishwasher, Carlos, who's been working for 2 years, no stop, to send money back home. And his wife steals the money and runs off with, surprisingly enough, my boom operator, who I always found was really funny that the whole film kind of balances on the fact that my boom operator is cheating with the,
That's right.
the
Kevin,
leads.
right?
Yeah, Kevin, the leads. And we're actually going to talk to Kevin later. We've got Kevin coming on.
Cool.
Ron Baldwin, who is the Steadicam operator, and it was a
I had a
luxury.
feeling,
Must have been a luxury.
Ron was
to have,
great.
Yeah, and how many little indie films had a Steadicam operator?
I know exactly, and we used him a lot, and he's I think, I don't know because I left the industry, but I think he got lots of work as a Steadicam operator, and no doubt has had a career, and he deserved it. He was excellent.
Well, it's interesting because Kevin is a boom operator still for some of the biggest films out there. I mean, I'm trying to think of the stuff he's done. You could look him up or whatever, but he's booming on major features. And
awesome.
Lori Grabowski, who will be on as well, has been a script supervisor.
That's right.
Kevin and Lori, that was both their first film, Midnight Mambo, and they have just continued on. I've had like 6 different careers in and out of the industry. I'm out again, but I was in for the last 5 years. But they've just continued on, and Lori and I did Uncle Drew, the basketball movie with Shaq and all those guys.
I don't know.
Oh, you've got to check it out. Uncle Drew's actually very good. They dress up as like 70-year-old basketball players, and they come back to win the title at the whatever it is, the tournament they have in Harlem every year. And and they all dress up in prosthetics, and Shaq and all these different guys that were actually former basketball players. Kyrie Irving, that guy.
Did you have to stand on some sort of apple box to do the?
I've got so many good Shaq stories. We're going to run out of time here, though.
Okay, all right.
Shaq is the best. You're putting a mic on him, and he reaches back and steals your wallet. And you're
nice.
I guess just Shaq owns my wallet now. Like, what am I gonna?
He's got the reach, I'm sure. He's got those arms.
Or in fact, the director said, "Do you just have like a bowl of wallets at home?" It was like part of his shtick. But anyway, got to check that out. And Lori was a script super on that, so we had the old home meeting there, and we both got to work on a film again. What was it? 20.
That's very cool.
Plus years later. All right, so. Jumped off of that one. You worked in a restaurant. This was inspired by a real life experience, if I remember. Was there a Carlos, a guy that really was doing this?
100%.
So, hey, Tony, come on, throw the dough, make it a little boy. Nobody throw the dough like Pino Nere. Let's go, throw the dough. There you go. Nobody throw like Bella Italia. All right, here you go.
Okay, can I get you an appetizer to start? I basically stick to myself, whether I'm at work or not. I do what I have to do here, then I go home. I spend my dinner break, each one, with Carlos. Carlos Humberto Martinez Lopez. That's how he introduces himself to people. He's so proud of his name. It's a pretty good one, I have to admit. Carlos is a man I have truly come to like. He speaks very little English, a major reason why I like him. He's washed dishes at the restaurant for 2 years straight, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, by hand, no fooling. Every cent he makes, he sends back to his wife in Guatemala. I have never in my life met a man who worked as hard as Carlos. I have no idea where he gets the energy. Today is his last day in America.
Go! I got it.
I'll tell the story quickly. It's because I was thinking about it last night. So I was working I was a student at Glassboro State College, now Rowan University in Southern New Jersey, and I was working at a Italian restaurant called Bella Italia. I was just a waiter. It was run by this guy named Gino, and he had his 2 sisters. One was the head waitress, and the other was the cook, and then some cousins and such. It was
called that in the movie, right? The movie.
Yeah, exace. I kept
Bella
a lot
Italia
of these things the same. I think Gino was even the name of the owner that we used.
Right.
And there was so there was this man named Carlos who spoke virtually no English, and he was the dishwasher mostly, but everything else, mopped, cleaned, everything. And he was this little man, real small. There was a line in the script that I wrote where I would refer to him occasionally as little man. And I remember Vicente, who played Carlos, kind of said why he felt it was like I was demeaning the character because he was a very tall guy. And I was like, no. This is, it was a legacy from the fact that that's who this guy was. He was this tiny little guy with so much energy, and he slept in the back. And he had a bed there. They'd had a shower put in, and he lived in the building. He lived in the restaurant for 2 years. And I remember, I didn't work there every day, but I worked there a lot over those 2 years. And I remember one day that he had off. They gave him a day off. And he literally, instead of wearing his normal white kind of dishwasher back of the kitchen clothes, he had on blue jeans, kind of Sergio Valente type blue jeans. I'm not making, it was just, they were bright blue and very crisp, and a button down kind of Texas looking shirt and boots, like cowboy boots. But he just stood in the corner of the restaurant the whole day. He had nowhere to go. He was probably illegal, undocumented. He didn't speak the language. And it was just this bizarre, like, character in my life that was so pleasant and worked harder than anyone I'd ever met. And then, and like I said, basically, and he was sending all his money back to his wife in Guatemala
and
his
was
family.
obsessed with dishwashing machines.
Well, that was
you've got that
script,
running
certainly.
gag in the movie. I've got a couple of clips
Yeah.
I'm going to show where
Yeah.
no matter where he ends up, he always gravitates back towards the kitchen and just lovingly stares at the dishwashing machine. Even
That
like
one scene at the end,
chase scene at the end where they're running through the restaurant and
when-
there's a gun and everything. The camera still goes over and looks at the machine.
Would you come on?
We got a big laugh every single time it aired on that one. It was one of my favorite moments because it was I don't even recall if it's in the original script or if it was moment of shooting where we had the idea. It could be in the script. But it was just one of those things that it every time, no matter where we played it, it just got a very big laugh. And it's nice to have a big laugh toward the end as it's all building. So very quickly, what was happening one day is I was working in that restaurant, and the busboy, young kid, I think his name was Marco, he was a funny young kid. He loved rap music, and we would banter all the time and get along. And one day he said, "What are you doing at the university, college?" And I said, "Well, I'm pursuing radio, TV, film. I want to write and make movies and act and stuff." Was a theater minor. And he said, "So what do you mean?" Well, he literally just said something like, "Well, write a story, write a movie." And on the spot, I was doing something, and I just said, "Okay, there's Carlos." And I said, "He's here. We know he washes these dishes. He lives here. He sends all his money back home to his wife, and he can't wait to get back home and live his life with her." And then what happens? He goes back home and he discovers that his wife has taken all the money that he sent him and left, and come back to America with someone she's fallen in love with. And I literally just
Kevin
thought,
Maloney in this case.
I was like, "That's not that bad." And he goes, "Huh." And then from there on, I just started literally writing a story based on this guy I knew and that silly little idea. And again, it's not to say it's a great idea, but it just struck me as, well, that's funny sounding. And yeah.
And so you had Brian, who I have to say I'm sorry about. I know we lost him last year. He was a friend of yours. And was he putting up the money for this? Some of the money?
We split it. We did.
Yeah.
We did. The whole thing, I think we approached, by the time it was said and done, through all of the festival cycle and all the promotion and paying for some of the musicians that we had to pay for, because we paid for some Gin Blossoms people to produce a song that never got used. And so I think it approached all in around $100,000.
Yeah.
And I think the two of us nearly 50-50 split, about 40, so about 80 total, 40 each over the course of a couple of years by the time it was all said and done. And then the rest we raised from investors, family, and any other way we could.
Yep. Yeah. And that's what people did back then, and we all appreciate it. It gave us jobs,
we paid you.
I always seem to get in and out of the industry, always being that I've done it twice, right when there's some major shift. So a couple of years after you shot, everyone decided they could shoot their film on a Canon XL1, which was a video camera. And instead of $100,000 budget, it was a $10,000 budget. So there was no money for crew anymore. It was a big disruption. It was between that and everything started shooting in Vancouver. Everything just left LA.
Exactly.
They would say like you could only shoot west in Vancouver because if you turned your camera to the east or whatever, there'd be another crew filming there. Like you could only film a little, small narrow window, because there was so much shooting going on there, but whatever. But and now it's the same thing. I mean, I've been doing.
It's in Georgia, a lot of filming in Georgia, obviously.
Right. But, now, nobody even knows how to make a movie anymore. I mean, unfortunately, nobody knows how we're going to get back into this after the pandemic. And they're talking about, instead of a 3-person sound team, we'll have a 1-person sound team. And the sound mixer will stay in a van somewhere. And the actors will mic themselves. Nobody knows how to, make this happen anymore. And how do you put makeup on somebody from 6 feet away, like with the
Exactly.
stick? I mean, nobody knows how to do this.
Well, how do you act? How do you act if there's
Yeah.
a kissing scene, if there's a hugging scene, if there's
Sure.
any scene that involves
Sure.
people talking and yelling at each other or
Right,
whatever?
right.
I mean, at some point, all this stuff may becomes post-vaccine less of an issue. I think a related point. I was talking to someone recently. I was like, we keep talking, or people keep mentioning the 1918 pandemic, or 1917 if you're some persons, and how bad that was, and millions of people worldwide died.
Sure.
And yet, people were kissing and hugging in the 1930s and 40s and 50s. It's like, things must have happened shortly after 1918, where people said, "Look, no more hugging, no more kissing." And clearly things got back to what we became our normal. I don't, so it will
have
again.
to, but it's gonna take some time, and it's hard for everybody to hang in there and figure out how to see the way forward at this point. Anyway, back to Midnight Mambo, because I think they cut me off at 40 minutes here. So you had this, well, unless you spend money on this. So you had the script, and you had somebody willing to throw some money in and all that kind of stuff. Yep. You started casting, finding people. Who was the actor?
Vicente Ramos,
right?
And then I think he went for us, Vicente Bermudez Ramos, or Ramos Bermudez. Right. It's in IMDb.
I remember him being very serious about this role, even though it was a comedic role. And I don't remember too many times when we would hang out with him or shoot the breeze.
No, he spent a lot of time on his own.
Yeah. Even though it was a little indie film and we were all in the same station wagon. Yeah. He was
very serious. He was very, and he brought, and there was nothing wrong with that from my perspective. He took it very seriously from a craft perspective, and it wasn't that I didn't. It was just that I was responsible for so many different things at the time that I probably wasn't able to devote the needed energy to any one of them, as well as he was able to just dive in and do his craft as being, I want to bring this character. I don't want it to be a caricature. I want it to be a real person with heart and soul. And it probably is the only reason at the end of the day that the movie's even viewable is the art that he put into it. I mean, obviously everyone else worked really hard, but he's the key.
You guys both have this rapport. I mean, it's very believable right off the bat. I mean, a lot of films have conventions or whatever, and you're like, I don't know if I really, fall for that. But you guys even wear matching shirts, which I always think is so funny. I don't know if that was just you guys both put on shirts and they were kind of the same or whatever, but
no, we had
two halves of the same person. Yeah,
we had a woman come in and do some costuming ideas, and I remember we talked a little bit about it, and I said I kind of want them to be reflections of each other.
Yeah,
and and then she pulled these two shirts out, and I was like, yeah, that's perfect.
Tonino, Carlos, Tonino, stop. No, I figure she's a good-looking woman, all alone, for 2 years. Remember, no stop. Tonino, stop. Figure, she meets a good-looking American, of course, a passionless American, but quite a looker. Figure he's got lots of money, she's got lots of money. Your money makes her pretty attractive, don't you think? I say stop. No, see, I'm just trying to figure out why Louisa would leave you, the raging, wild romantic that you are. No! I say stop, you stop. I say I don't want to talk like this. This is my wife, not attractive women, my wife. There is no reason for what she do. So you don't try to understand, okay? It's not about you. I come home to this, not you. I feel like a fool. Now that's it. I don't want to talk like this no more. Do you understand me? Sure, Carlos. Why don't we start the drive, okay? I drive, okay? We understanding each other, yes? Absolutely.
But anyway, there's that one scene where the car slams on the brakes in the middle of the highway. Like, you must have really just done all this stuff, I mean, there's the other one where, you guys almost get run down. Is that your car, the Acura, the white Acura, or was that Ron's?
Yeah. No, that was my ex-wife's.
Right. I remember.
Car.
Right, I remember
she was a co-producer because it was our money. And she just was like, yeah, go ahead, take the car. And we had some stunt driver come in.
Okay. I didn't know if it was somebody on the crew or whatever.
No, someone said, I know a stunt driver. Oh, it might have been Charles Carter, who knew a stunt guy. From his fighting, he did some sword fighting stuff.
Okay, right. But even the scene where you blow out the back window or whatever. I mean, they're
Oh yeah.
shooting like a marble or a BB or something, but you guys are standing right there. You just kind of duck out of the way. I think they shot once and missed or something. Was that it?
Oh God, I don't even remember that. I do know that you can see it. You can see in very quickly in the top right corner of the screen. You see just my memory is you see part of the slingshot.
Right,
but that's all it was.
Right.
It was just with
slingshot and like a BB.
and a pedal.
Right, but you guys are standing right there, and the window shatters.
One take.
They could have hit you. They could have hit anybody. But these things.
I know, probably
tend to work
not
out.
Health and safety approved. But
it looks
have
great.
The window shoot.
That shot is so funny too. She can't pull the gun out of her waistband, and she's trying and trying. Like she doesn't even know how to get the gun out. But
that's right. I remember. So, I remember when I wrote. So what is that? A gun? What? And then it goes. What is that? A bullet?
Right.
But it was all of that had to be done once, because once the back window shattered, we weren't going to be able to put another one in. We had no money left, so it was let's just get this right.
We had already put an engine in that car.
That's right. We had to rebuild an engine. I know.
So, and that I'm going to show that later because that's Kevin's acting debut. And
that's right. He had a line, right? He's Louisa, it's them or something.
I
haven't seen the movie in years. I think
he mumbles something in the background. But and you worked with Kevin. He was writing news stories.
We were news writers.
Right,
at KNBC in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and this was Kevin's first film. And if you're the sound mixer on a low budget film, what usually happens is you just get whoever happens to be around to hold the boom, which is always a disaster, or somebody who wants to learn how to do it and maybe is inexperienced, but at least you can train them, and by the after the first couple of weeks or whatever of them dropping in the frame, they kind of get the handle the hang of it.
He obviously was trained well because he's got a career out of it now.
He's kept doing it ever since then. I mean, I do take a little bit of pride in that kind of stuff that people, and a lot of people who started with me like that have gone on to do huge films and stayed in the industry. And like I said, I've popped in and out a couple times, but at least some people have stuck with it. All right. Well, I was doing it until January, so it's still pretty recent.
Okay.
In Atlanta, and one of the reasons I think I'm sentimental about all these low budget films is that world doesn't exist anymore. I was doing a lot of corporate stuff. I was doing a lot of behind the scenes packages for Walking Dead and that kind of stuff. And I did still some boom operating on some bigger films. I got to do Baywatch with The Rock and movie with Oprah, this Uncle Drew thing, the basketball movie. So I did some fun stuff. But as far as like the cool little indie features where people are really just going for it and they're putting it all out there or whatever, I think it's like either so low budget where they're just making something for YouTube, or a little indie film is still a $5-10 million film or whatever.
I was going to say millions.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's no middle there anymore where a guy like me can just get in and jump in and do it. But I did so many of these cool little things where you don't know why things ended up the way they did or whatever, or what happens with these films. And that's kind of why I wanted to go back, because I work on the film and then I work on something else next month, but I never really hear the end of the story. What happened with the film? Did it finally get put together? Was it in festivals?
Exactly.
What was
ours
the
was
life of the film after? Yeah.
Ross Bryan, the co-producer, took over once it was all completed. He took charge of all festival applications, festival screenings. It won audience awards a couple places. It won Best Screenplay at San Antonio Film Festival or something like that, which I was really, I think, most proud of. And at the end of the day, it's somewhere in Long Island. So it was East Coast, West Coast, down where he was. And then Texas, it aired. We tried so hard to get it into places. And, it screened at a big film festival in New York City at Tribeca. It was actually the screening room was actually the one that's owned by De Niro's company, which was really cool. It was this amazing space. But it was part of the Angelica Film Festival, I think is what it was called. This is years ago now. I honestly don't remember it all. And that went well, but the whole idea there is to hopefully sell it, pick up some kind of distribution deal, and of course nothing came of that. But it was still an amazing experience. That again, there were some issues there with Brian Ross having to stay behind and stay in the hospital when I left, which was uncomfortable and unfortunate. But those are just sort of there's always the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs of life, and that was there was incredible highs there. incredible lows on that trip. And it was just, there's nothing in that, my time of making Midnight Mambo with everyone involved. There's no part of it that wasn't always feeling like we were on the knife's edge of everything, from bankruptcy to success, to illness, to wellness. It was just this bizarre period of time where we just threw everything we had at it, and it was just, the roller coaster was quite a ride.
Right. And for the crew, I mean, that's part of the excitement too. And you get to live this experience without having to spend the money. You know, I mean, it's always been my dream to do this too, but I've just never been able to just, you know, say, all right, you know, I'm getting the 10 credit cards and I'm going to go out and make, you know, I had a little script too at the time about, you know, valet parking. I was always getting these valet parking jobs, and it was just a bunch of guys sitting around, you know, parking cars and, you know, shooting the breeze or whatever. But
that sounds like an independent film in that time, in that era. Yeah.
But it only exists in my mind, when yours is an actual real thing that you did. So, you know, I've always kind of admired guys like you who just, you know, for better or worse, went out and did it. I mean, talk about it being on the edge. I mean, you got to talk about the car. I mean, you went to the recycler and bought an $1,100 Mercury Grand Marquis, sight unseen, loaded it up,
wood panel,
loaded it up with grip equipment, and off we went on the 10 freeway. We broke down in Needles, California. I gotta say, it was probably one of the worst days of my life. I do remember
it was a bad day.
We were standing on the side of the road in this broken down car. It was very hot. Of course, nobody's prepared for anything. We're all wearing shorts, and there's no water, and there's, you know, no anything.
We thought we were going to make it.
Right. There's no communication. Of course, there's no cell phones.
Exactly.
And I always tell the story in my mind that Lori was driving the production van, and maybe it's just a story I made up over the years. Someone was driving the production van, the nice air-conditioned new rental production van, which went blowing by us on the highway.
I do kind of remember that.
As we were standing there, and we're like, isn't that the van?
That's right. And we had to, somehow or another, because we had obviously a couple cars, and we had to drive to because there were no cell phones and no mobile phones. So we had to drive to some little site to use a pay phone,
right,
to hopefully try and reach, I don't even know who we may have been trying to call Brian, because he was waiting for us in Phoenix. So he was the one who we were communicating to try to connect with a garage or some kind of mechanic between him and there.
You were trying to get Mo on the phone. Come on. We need Mo to come down and fix the car. But I just remember standing there like we didn't know anything. We assumed, you know, you knew, and, you know, someone knew, and they were sending someone. And the whole car was filled with probably 1,500 pounds of grip equipment and lights and stands. We're like, what? This is the movie is right here in the back of this car. Like, what you know? Yeah. And you had to put a new engine in, I remember, which cost more than the actual cost of the car. But
I think it may have.
The car had already been established at that point. You were stuck with it, you know.
Yeah, it was a perfect looking car for what I always wanted it to be.
Yep.
I do recall my memory of that night is eventually ended up in the car, because there were multiple cars that eventually found their way after the incident, and we got rid, you know, someone took it to a garage, a mechanic, and we set up a time to get it from them, etc. Where I was in Susan's car, the white Acura, and Vicente Carlos was in that car as well, and all my memory is the long drive to Phoenix. It was just he was so upset. He was really pissed. He was hot and tired, and his head was up against the way of the car, and because he was kind of a tall guy, like I said earlier, and his head was up against the window, and he just, I mean, in a sense, I'm paraphrasing. It wasn't like he ever said these words, but it was just like, I deserve better than this. And he did. We all did. It wasn't, I mean, at the end of the day, I felt horrible about it, but there isn't a whole bunch I can do at that moment.
I do remember we had
hire limousines to take us to Phoenix.
We were then sitting in some like diner in Needles, California for like 6 hours or something.
That's probably true.
I know it was me and Kevin. I don't remember who else was with us. It may have been Vicente. I mean, I'm sure other people from the crew were there. We were in that car, you know, and I have pictures of it. I have still photos. I took photos of it. I think Lori has those. I'll have to dig those up or whatever, but just stuck on the side of the road.
Oh my God.
I mean, it must have been right at the beginning. Was that right at the beginning, or No, we did
Well,
the
we started
restaurant
shooting
stuff
in,
first.
yeah, we started shooting in Pasadena where I lived and some
Right.
stuff around there. But that was then the big stuff was, yeah, we wanted to get out because we had shots on the road with cactus and stuff. And, you know, we wanted to show that it was a road film. And of
Right.
course, the car in the movie breaks down on the way somewhere. I can't remember where it is geographically in the story. So it was just this classic moment of, fuck. You know, it's like I wrote it in the script and here it is happening. And I was trying at one point to say something like, well, we can use this, like
Right.
to Vicente. But again, I think he appreciated that downstream, but that day he didn't want to hear about how this was going to help the craft.
Right. It was just a broken down car.
Yeah, and an uncomfortable day.
Yeah. I remember we did a lot of stuff in Arizona. I mean, you know, if you're trying to make an indie film, I mean, on the one hand, sure, shooting it all in a car, maybe it's cheaper or whatever, but you know, there's a lot of challenges with shooting in a moving car. I know I didn't know how to get sound in a moving car. I don't even know if I had mics back then to stick on a person. I mean, I know I had them hidden somewhere in the car, and you can hear what people are saying, so that's good. We were in the back in the little clamshell. They had the little folding seats, and it was me and Lori back there, and she was keeping track of the script and what you guys were saying, and I was back there rolling sound, you know, with no seatbelt on, of course, in the back of that car, in a moving car with actors driving who are trying to concentrate on lines and all that kind of stuff. These days when this happens, I put the recorder back there and I just stay, you know, back on the set. I hit record and I say, you guys have a good time. I mean, you know, not much I can do at that point once everything's wired up and ready to go. But but those were fun times for sure. So what happened after, when you finally got to a point where you figured you just couldn't get any farther with the film? Did you strike a print? Is there an actual print of it that exists?
Yeah, there is. I think, you know, now I don't know where it is. We had multiple prints actually, because he was shipping them out to all these festivals and such. But they eventually all ended up back with him. So, and he ended up isolated at the end, and I don't know where any of that would be right now. Must be, and much of his family isn't around anymore. So I actually just don't know. They're probably gone. I don't even have. I may have somewhere a digital file that, if it exists, and it's the stuff that eventually led to the few things I put up on YouTube years ago, is someone took a video of it playing. I don't even think it was done in any other way that you could
kinescope.
do it.
That's what they used to do.
Yeah, something like it's not good quality. I mean, it's enough that you can see it and stuff, but but yeah, it's just one of those things where at least there are those, and at least I have that, so that there are those moments. And in fact, Ross Bryan is in one of those clips. I think he kicks us out of a restaurant somewhere.
I've got that clip actually. Right. That's
good. So show that one.
That's when Vicente goes back to
with the first time.
Look at the dishwasher, and then he gets kicked out of there.
All right, we got a quick bite to eat, use the John, and back on the road.
Quick bite, use Johnny, back on the road.
See.
I'll be right with you.
Thanks.
Rubén.
You like Rubens?
Mucho. Son ricos, nene.
Are you ready to order?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna start with the...
Rubén. No sauerkraut. More coleslaw. Make it nice and toasty.
Okay.
2.
All right.
Thanks. Hey, if you need to go to the bathroom, why don't you go now?
Sí, I go now.
Amigo?
Hola.
What you doing back here? Oh, I see. You come to look at my baby here, huh?
What is it?
This is an Auto Clean D680. Yes, sir. What's the name, compadre?
Carlos Humberto Martinez Lopez. Mucho gusto.
That's a hell of a handle you got there, Senor Lopez.
Sí.
You in the industry?
I don't understand.
You wash dishes?
See, 2 years, no stop.
Yeah, you had that look about you. I can tell.
Can I?
What? You want to push the button? Oh, no, I can tell you want to. Go ahead. Give it a whirl. Yeah, she's one powerful mother, ain't she? Yeah, that's a 30 pounds per square inch of pure hot water pressure. Clean the oldest sauce off any old plate. You know, I don't even have to rinse the plates if I want to. Of course I do, because I love a job.
More coming.
Oh, now that's a shame. Look at those plates.
Yeah, that.
I gotta wash those, you know.
What the hell's going on here?
Bud, clean up this shit. I got a dinner rush coming on any minute now. Who the hell are you? He's just visiting, boss.
Okay, out of the kitchen. Out of the kitchen. Bud? Out of the kitchen. What are you doing? Freeloading? Come on. Come on.
Walk back in my kitchen like
What's
that.
it? Come on. What happened? What did you do?
Just throw him right back in the back of the kitchen. Probably gonna steal something.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. I don't know where it is. The prints, I have nothing. I don't have anything for it anymore. It's this bizarre sort of thing that we did.
Yep.
And I put everything I had into it, and it's
At
out
least,
there. And it's,
at least you can see
you know.
something. I mean, so many things I did
Yeah.
just vanished, and I don't know where the people are, and there's no footage, and nothing like that. That was always the stumbling block, is that these people, you know, I worked with, who would throw all their money and everything into a film, they could never get to the point where they made the print, because striking the print was
Right.
like 20 grand or something or other, just to, you know, get the film developed once. So they'd edit it, and it would get to some point where you could kind of see something, you know,
Right.
have a cheap low res copy on video or whatever, but they could never get to the point where they would make these prints. They just would run out of money, so they could never get them into festivals or do whatever they had to do or whatever. So you at least went all the way and went as
Yeah.
far as you could go with it.
I'm really proud of that. I mean, we worked really hard to it. I remember even I mentioned that Angelica Film Festival thing in New York. We actually had, it was, we had something went wrong with the print. It was supposed to be shipped, and we got a call from FedEx while we were in New York. Michael Moore just walked by me. It was literally this mad scene, and it's just like, oh my gosh, where are we? And then we get this call, or Brian finds out. I don't even remember how he found out, because I don't think he had a mobile phone. That we had this, maybe it just was that we went and checked to see, is our film here, is our print
He
here?
had a
And they said,
gun.
no,
I
not
remember.
yet.
I remember the gun. We were driving around in his Impala SS with the gun
Oh,
on,
did he?
on the
I
dashboard.
don't remember
which,
that. Oh,
if you,
goodness.
if you had to drive around with your weapon, you could do it as long as it's on the dashboard in Arizona. So
Oh my
we would
God.
drive around with the, and I
That's
always was like,
madness.
look at him and look at the gun. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, whatever. We're already out
So,
there.
so
you know.
yeah, so we had to pay more money to have another print made, and another overnight. I mean, it was FedEx already, but I think it was on a slower plan, and then it had to be there the next day so that we could book it, because they were going to tell us they were going to give up our slot to showing. And yeah, it was just a crazy, crazy time. But we definitely had many prints, and we showed it many places. And I was really proud of that, because I just felt like at the end of the day, just like you said, this wasn't about the experience was incredible and the doing it. But for me, it's the same thing now over the last few years that I've been trying to make music in my life. It's about for me, it is everything. It's the destination, and it is the road there. It is getting there. It is having something to reveal, to show, to share. Art in any form, sounding pretentious, but it has to be, in my view, interactive. If it's only something you're doing in your living room, if it's only something that you can see in the editing bay and never gets beyond that, and only the people who made it can see it, then that's just not, to me, the completion of the artistic process. It has to be seen, it has to be shared, it has to be experienced. And I was so proud that we were able to do it. By the time we got there, I was done. I was like, I was spent. And I said to Brian, I said, this is on you now. I said, I've spent the last year and a half of my life, and even longer, writing it, trying to get to this point. We've done it. The festival circuit thing, that's you. I'm out. I just had to. I was losing like my mind.
Yeah, too close to it. Well, you got 4 crew members who are going to sit and reminisce over Zoom in a few minutes. So that's got to make you feel good. And we all have good memories of it. And
I'm glad.
I'm really glad. The experience we had in making the film, and just the film itself. I mean, it's a funny, cute, entertaining, piece of art that certainly could have gone out there and sat out there with other things at the time. And we don't know why these things work and why these things don't. I mean, I make music too. I know you're doing a lot of music lately, and you do the best you can. You put it out there, and
exactly.
some things work and some things don't. We've got about 2 more minutes. I think
Okay.
when my Zoom meter will run out here. Why don't you just tell us what you've been doing lately, what your job is now, and where you are?
So yeah, I live in England. I have since 2006. I'm my day job is I'm a university. Basically, I'm assistant professor at a university out here. I'm a social psychologist. I went back and got a PhD back in 2006. I earned it. Started in 2002. I do that, and I make music. I've been writing and recording. I've released 4 CDs, a bunch of singles. Got to work with Simon Felice, producer of the Lumineers. He produced my 3rd CD. Been on the radio a bit. So I've had little bits of success, but nothing at all like you dream and hope. But the process has been incredible for me because it's totally different from anything I'd done before. And I got to play incredible stages here in London and just had a great time doing it. Hopefully once people can go out and be part of live music again, I'll get shows again and it'll pick up again.
All right. Well, I just keep looking at the clock here, but
Understood.
it has been
minutes.
a pleasure talking to you, and
You too,
we're
Rob.
going to throw some stuff together and see how this all comes out. I mean, I just discovered, hey, you can record Zoom meetings. I'm like, well, what can you do with that? But we're going to see.
I look forward to seeing it.
And yeah, it was nice to stroll down memory lane with you, and best of luck with everything.
You too.
All right.
Send my best to the folks you're going to be talking to.
Yeah, it was a gun.
Get out! Leave!
You want to shoot me, Lisa?
Yes, don't come any closer.
Your English is very good. You learn.
Yes?
Me too. I learned too. I learned a lot. So I say, go ahead. Shoot me. Or maybe you cannot shoot. Maybe you know you killed me already.
All right, don't move.
I don't have the money. It's not here.
Where is it?
You can't have it.
I don't want the money. I don't do that for me. I did it for you.
Well, I want it.
It's yours.
Excuse me?
But what's mine is this. Right here, right now. For you to see me here today. And for you never to forget that I made it. I found you. And now and for the rest of your life, you will know that I know what you did to me. But I survive. Enjoy your life. Enjoy the money, Luisa. Soon that will go too. But me, here today, you will remember me for the rest of your life. That much, I am sure of. Come on, Tonino, let's go.
Let's go. After all we've been through, what the hell does that mean?
Tonino, I say let's go.
Well, I say no way. You're not getting away with it that easy.
So, hey, look, we're all here. We're all grown up now. How did this happen? We're all adults.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I'm
exactly.
the only one without gray hair.
Yeah.
I probably had mine back then. Kevin had his back
It's called Clairol.
I had some back then, but I went past gray. I'm into white now, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Anyway, so pleasure to see you all. I talked to Phil for about an hour from London just a couple hours ago. He's doing all right. I mean, he's an assistant professor. I guess he's been doing that for a while. And
In what?
He's at home. Social science, economics. You'll have to watch the program. You know, it's funny. A lot of times when I'm sitting here, I'm not listening to the answer the person's saying, which is really bad for a host of any sort of thing to be doing. And then I watch the playback and I'm like, oh, he said all those things that I could have reacted to, but my mind was on something else. Anyway, he's doing all right. I mean, the interesting thing for me is he has no copy of Midnight Mambo. He knows, he has no idea where the prints are. He doesn't even have like a videotape he can put in and see $100,000 movie. I know, it's so sad. I mean, I always wonder why all these guys just don't put this stuff out on YouTube and, at least if nothing else, we can sit and hit play and watch the movie. He does have those clips. Those clips were from the screening that somebody videotaped. So they're not even like any generation or whatever. They're just someone with a video camera. I guess we had a screening when it was all together, or at some point they had some showing. and it was just literally somebody filming the screen, and that's what's been on YouTube for like the last 10 years. So
Wow.
obviously, it could be looking so much better, and it could be complete instead of in little snippets or whatever. But at least we have something to watch and look at. And
wow, I wonder if Ted would know how to track that down, or maybe he has it in a closet somewhere. I have no idea.
Do we know if Ted is still around?
I have no idea. Every time
he's right here.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh.
Very nice. Yeah, I've got pictures too.
Ask Phil about Ted? Did you ask Phil about Ted?
He didn't know. I did a movie before Midnight Mambo called Completely, Totally, Utterly, about two guys that dig up a dead body for their Halloween party. And Ted was the DP on that. That was even lower budget than Midnight Mambo. So I assume Ted recommended me for Midnight Mambo, and that's how I ended up on it. But
he recommended me for, yeah.
Yeah, but the director of the other movie, who's also named Phil, he thought that Ted had passed away, but it might just be a theory. I don't know. I don't have any concrete information one way or the other.
I looked him up on IMDb, and the last thing he had was 2013, but the thing before that was 2007. So it's not like he was, working steadily up until and then just dropped off. I don't know.
Yeah, well, a lot of people work on stuff and it doesn't get on there. If you're doing corporate shoots or whatever, you're just not going to end up on IMDb, but you could be working all the time.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go around the room here real quick. Lori Grabowski, you are still working as a script supervisor in New York City.
Still faking my way through. Yeah.
When there is work to be done in the movie business, and who knows when that'll be again. But your first film was Midnight Mambo.
Yes, my first paying job was Midnight Mambo. I got that from Ted, who was the DP on Matt Reeves, J.J. Abrams' partner, Matt Reeves. Matt Reeves' thesis film was my first little job out of school. And Ted was DP on that. And so, Midnight Mambo was my first paying job, which was $200 a week.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't even know, how much I
could
have been getting.
I remember it was $200 a week only because I've been telling the story for 25 years.
Right.
So
yeah.
That's the only way I remember it.
Yeah.
But I don't remember much else. My memory is shot. I remember that
you keep claiming that.
Was or wasn't a BL4 that we shot. Do you remember if it was 16 mil or not? Because I for some reason, I'm remembering it being a BL4, which is what? Not 16 mil? I don't know. Anyway, I don't remember about the movie. I wish I did. I remember being in the garage and Ron holding the Steadicam for like 20 minutes to
figure out what kind of camera that is. I don't.
Oh.
Yeah, it's an SR. I'm pretty sure it was 16.
Yeah.
How about that? A little detective.
I keep telling Laurie, I'm not as strong as you think I am.
I don't know. At some point, then soon after that, somebody referred to it as being a BL4 and being 80 pounds. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
But that film, I was working as a cosmetics manager at Barney's in Beverly Hills. And I quit to do Matt Reeves' thesis film because I couldn't get the time off from Barney's. And I had like $500 to my name. And then that film, Midnight Mambo, I've been working as a script supervisor ever since. I know. For a living. There were a couple of years where I had to like hit the streets and,
Yeah, these things happen.
Become a streetwalker. I'm kidding. So that catapulted me into a life of now network television.
All right. And Kevin, this was your first film as well. Matter of fact,
you
quit your career as well. You were working with Phil. Go ahead and tell how you got on there. And
my God, I was working I was a
became
writer,
my lackey
in the Channel 4 newsroom here in town. And it was after Rodney King and O.J. Simpson. And I just wanted no part of TV news anymore. And Phil was making a movie.
What were you doing at Channel 4?
Writing and producing.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the morning news. Well, I was writing for all of the shows, and for a while I'd been producing the morning newscast, and then it just was getting to be something. This was before. Don't want to step on anybody's toes, but this was before Fox became what it is today. Notice I don't use the word Fox and news in the same sentence usually. so I wanted to get out, and I was kind of a latecomer finding out that Phil was making a movie. I don't know what department I would be in if I'd known earlier. I don't, or whatever. But
well, it seems to have worked out for you. You've been working as a boom operator for the last 20 plus years, ever since, I don't even know what year was Mambo. Yeah, it was 96, 97, something like that.
Yeah.
No, it had to be like, on IMDb it says like 97 or 98, but it had to be 95 or 96 because my first union film was in 97, and that was way after Mambo.
I'm going to say 96. It probably was one of the earlier films that I mixed, because the film I did previously with Ted, I was the boom operator. So it was probably before I had my gear or whatever. And Kevin's been doing it ever since. And Ron, how did we get a Steadicam operator on a little teeny film like that?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Lori and I were talking about that. I think it was my roommate on the East Coast is from New Jersey and went to school with Charles Currier.
Okay, yep.
Who, if you remember, was I think he started as the director, and I think Phil kind of usurped him through there.
I had forgotten all about that drama, and I didn't want to get into it. Phil said I should talk to him too. I said, I don't need to dish up the dirt whatever. I just remember now there was a guy, and then he wasn't there anymore.
He's actually quite successful and was always like a fight choreographer and a stunt type guy. He worked at Universal for many years in the stunt show for Waterworld, that kind of shit. So he's always busy. I'm not sure what he's up to now, but I had never met Charles before, but I think Dennis, my roommate on the East Coast, gave him my name because I was going to move to LA, so I drove to my mom's house in Northern California and dumped all my shit in her garage. And then that's about when I got the call from Dennis, hey, my buddy's directing a movie in LA. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I think that's when I went down to do that. But I hadn't moved here yet. I didn't have any money. I didn't know anything. I was just kind of like eating a lot of ramen soup. But I probably had a Steadicam for at least 2 years before that. I was doing a lot of corporate videos on the East Coast, and occasionally like a feature would come through town or something. So I was doing like second AC and loading and that kind of thing. And that was when I came to California. I remember Kevin, we ran into each other on Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy, yeah.
I IMD stalked you last night. And I'm like, when's the last time we worked together? And I'm sure we've run into each other on set here and there, but I think season 2 of Grey's Anatomy, we got to play a lot together.
Season 2, yeah.
And Lori and I got to work on Uncle Drew, the basketball movie with Shaq.
Yeah.
So we were reunited on that, and I was doing boom, and she was the script super. So
I'm still injured from that, by the way.
I know you fell down a hill. I know.
I fell at breakfast at catering. I slipped down a little dirt bank, and I fell, and I had this bruise on my boob that was just, but I fractured my rib, and to this day I still, when I lay on my right side, there's like something like snaps. I don't know, not my rib, but anyway, we worked on Uncle Drew.
I did, which is a fine movie. I think it's great. I enjoy it.
I never saw it.
Oh, it's a very cute movie. It's like a really good after school special, with real basketball players in it. But it's cute. It's got a lot of heart. I mean,
all right. He signed that big contract.
Kyrie Irving.
That's it.
Yeah. And Shaq and a bunch of other former basketball players, all
Leslie,
wearing.
What's her name? Leslie, the tall.
Yeah, all wearing prosthetics and dressed up like 70-year-olds.
I never saw Kyrie out of his prosthetics, so I'm like, I have no idea.
And these guys playing full-on basketball, in the middle of the summer on an asphalt court with no cover in Georgia, right? Wearing all this heavy rubber and sweatpants and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Directed by Charles, what's his name, the third, who was one of the original What's Up guys, right? The Budweiser, What's Up?
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember. What do you do? Anyway, it was nice to do that anyway with you. All right. So gave you the update pretty much on Phil, that he's been in London, and
is he doing music right now?
He is a singer-songwriter. He does that on the side. His main gig is he's a economics or sociology professor or some sort of thing like that. Assistant professor, I think, at a university there.
I got a friend request from him last night.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I went to his site and kind of like skulked about, going like, "Oh, cool, what's he up to over there?"
Yeah.
And everything was all performance,
Well,
guitar.
he's a singer songwriter.
Wow,
that's really cool. Yeah.
He's got a real job too. So yeah. Anyway,
why he moved to England?
I don't know. Yeah.
Why
The
not?
law.
Yeah, they were on. Yeah.
They were on the hill.
Yeah. But so anyway, we talked about a bunch of stuff, and of course, what came up a lot was just what it's like to make a movie with no money back then, and
oh boy,
having to use, of course, both Laurie and Kevin in different scenes as actors.
Oh, Pietro, you are a master.
Oh, hey, Tony, your recook's up.
Marco, please, por favor. Table 4. Cuatro. I never wanted to speak Spanish. Well, I guess I don't speak it as well as I understand it. I must have picked it up somewhere. Probably here. I guess it's not the kind of thing you can avoid, really. Don't get me wrong, I've got no problem with Spanish people. I don't have a problem with anybody. I guess I just wish I had a choice. I like Spanish food. I guess that really doesn't matter. I think I'm also learning too much Italian.
Okay, who took my calamari? Did you get them, Pino?
Don't look at me. Oh.
Tony? Them, that's elevating table 5. Did you get them?
Kitty, my dear, the squid was mine.
I did. Okay, well, that's just great. No, really, why didn't everybody just take my food? Well, here, at least take their order then. Look at them, they're starting to drool.
No, I meant Kitty. I took the calamari. Tony. Pino, would you like me to take your table?
Yes, please, Paisano.
Okay, but don't tell Katie. I'm taking her meatball.
You still have that bow tie? The bow tie is nice. You still got it?
I had worked at restaurants before then where I wore a similar outfit. Probably was from that. I don't know.
Yep. Well,
14
I mean,
before then.
This was Phil's real experience. There really was a guy like Carlos who was washing dishes and sending the money back to, his wife in Mexico or whatever. And the restaurant was even called Bella Italia, which is what it's called in the movie.
Oh yeah.
And Phil said he got the idea because he was, working as a waiter with this guy, and somebody had challenged him and said, write a script right now about something going on in your life. And he said, well, there's this guy who washes dishes, who doesn't speak English, and sends all the money back home. And what if he's sending the money and his wife takes the money and runs away with Kevin? It happens to be. But
yes.
What a dick.
Yeah, I know, and that's where the script came from. I always found it really funny that the whole movie kind of turns on Kevin. Like Kevin is the guy who really gets all this in motion by stealing his girlfriend.
I'm the reason for the whole story.
You are.
And I was available in Stoddard Wells when they needed the person to play it.
Uh-huh. So, well, let's watch that clip real quick, too.
Excuse me, sir. Do you know how to get back on the highway? Let's see. Carlos, it's him.
Luisa, it's them!
Luisa? Is that her? Is that Luisa? Luisa? Was that a gun? Was that a bullet? We're back.
Kevin's screen debut in his cutoff jean shorts. And this is actually,
Oh my God, she ate my earring. Wait, where the fuck?
Quarantine.
Well, it's been good seeing you,
wow,
Laurie.
look at that picture.
Oh, you got it back.
Oh yeah.
All right.
No, that's me and you said cut off shorts.
Oh, there they are.
Wow.
There's
There
Phil.
Do you guys remember being at Phil's house or at Brian's house in Phoenix?
Sure.
Yeah.
And watching Living in Oblivion?
I was going to say, we watched Living in Oblivion.
Oh,
I remember,
that's right.
Which is like the perfect movie to watch.
Perfect.
I just remember driving around in Brian's Impala SS, and he had the gun on the dashboard, because if you could drive around with a gun in Arizona, but it had to be on top of the dashboard at all times and visible. So we just had to drive around with this like gun
concealed,
sitting on the dashboard. Yeah.
Wow.
Concealed.
We talked about him as well. He, passed away a year ago, I think.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
I know.
Were he and Phil close still?
Yeah, no, they were. Yeah. Yeah. I think they split the money 50-50. I think it was half Brian's and half Phil's and some other outside investors or whatever. So I don't know what their relationship was at the time when he died or whatever. But he put us up and you remember we were driving the van and we ran over a ladder. You must have.
Oh my God! Yes.
There was a giant ladder in the road, and I just said, "I'm just going to hit it," and we just hit it with the crew van. Just this huge ladder in the road. And we talked about the car. So who was with me in the car when it broke down? I know it was Kevin.
Not me.
No, you were in the production van with the air conditioning that still ran.
It might have been. I bet it was me and is it Vicente?
I have a feeling it was. I'm pretty sure Vicente was in the car with Kevin and Ron and I when it broke down on the 10 in Needles, and there were no cell phones, of course. So
I forgot about that.
Oh my God! Yeah.
We watched the van go screaming by. At least when I tell this story, and I don't know if it's true, that the van. Well, it must have. The van went screaming by us and didn't stop, and we're like, there's no cell phones. There's no way to get a hold of anybody. Like we're watching them go off in the distance. They were going off to get help, but we just had to stand there until someone came back with the tow truck or whatever. And then we sat we sat in a cafe in Needles for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what was happening. Like they had taken the car. The car had all the grip gear in it, had all the lights. We had to get all that out and do something. I don't know how we did anything with it.
Wow.
What we did with it. I guess we just left it in there. I think all the gear was still in the car when it got towed. It must
like piled in there, I think, in the back. It's like, God forbid we ever got in an accident. All that stuff comes flying forward.
Or God forbid you buy a car on the recycler for $1,100 and you check it out. Before you start filming your movie, you just buy it sight unseen out of the paper and put it right in the movie. I remember the car was $1,100 and it was like $1,200 to replace the engine. It was like $100 more. And he had to do it because the car was established. He couldn't do anything about it at that time. The car was already in the movie. So there you go.
Was that when we first left LA and started heading east?
Yeah, I think we filmed for a week, like in Pasadena at the restaurant or something. We filmed a lot of the earlier stuff. We might even have filmed this stuff like down at the docks or the pier or whatever, like the end. We might even have filmed that first. I don't remember. And then we went.
Well, then there was Santa Clarita where we had to do the car going over the edge of the cliff.
Yeah.
And you know what you're saying.
Yeah.
No memory.
Yeah.
And then Ron, didn't you take the Steadicam and then follow them running across the street?
Yeah, that was disastrous. I think that I bet I wasn't there at that time because I think that we did a bunch of Steadicam or the Steadicam thing first, and then I was off to the doctor to see what was wrong with my leg because I took a big spill.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because the car sliding into the actors was something that at least in my really bad memory, that we designed to slow them down so I could keep up with them. Because we did a couple rehearsals where they just bolted off after her, and I'm like, there's no way I can keep up with them. So what if let's have a car slide in front of them so they have to kind of stop and go around this car. And then that'll allow me to catch up to them, and then you can get some more out of the run. And then when we did the take, obviously we probably didn't rehearse it that much. We just said, hey, do this. And the car came sliding right at me. So I kind of reacted and hesitated. And once you get moving with a Steadicam, it's so much weight out there, it just keeps going. So it kind of just dragged me into the ground. I hesitated, but the rig didn't. So it kept going and just pulled me right into the middle of the street. And the car probably, it wouldn't have hit me, but just that thing sliding towards me in my peripheral vision freaked me out enough that I kind of hesitated and sidestepped and ended up just falling right on my face because of it. At least that's how I remember it.
Well, you both have workplace injuries now.
Yeah. every once in a while I get a little like, hey, what's wrong with my knee? And I'm like, oh yeah,
Midnight Mambo.
Midnight Mambo, yeah. But yeah, that was funny. And you know, I don't have any. I mean, that was a horrible thing to happen, but I don't have any bad memories of the show. And as a matter of fact, I think Vicente got me so stoned a few times. I don't have many memories of all that stuff.
So how did I miss out on all that? So I just remember he was super serious about the part, even though it was a comedy. I mean, you really couldn't just hang out with that guy. I mean, he was into the character and he was just locked into it or whatever, you know, even though
he was like, he's very, very into it. He and I hung out a little bit after Midnight Mambo.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd go to a Vice place or something, but he's an intense guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phil was telling.
Is he still acting, or what's his deal?
I have no idea. I haven't seen him since probably the late 90s, early 2000s, maybe.
Wow.
Like the rest of you. Yeah, Phil was telling the story about, you know, how upset he was when the car broke down and, you know, he deserved better than this. And, you know, what kind of, you know, rinky-dink production is this that we're dealing with this kind of stuff. And Phil was like, no, we can use this for the movie. Like, you know, we're out here dying in the desert. It's 110 degrees and we're standing on the side of the road in Needles, California. Like, we're not going to use this in the movie. Like, we're going to try to live through this experience, you know, and that's about it.
Yeah.
No, it was a lot of fun. I mean, that's why I started thinking about all this. It really, you know, was a unique experience to have. And these movies, you know, they don't make these movies anymore. You know, if they make them, they're super nothing budget, or, you know, they're way bigger than this. But there's nothing where these little homebrew guys come out and make these kind of films anymore.
Well, the thing is now everybody can grab an iPhone or a little GoPro or whatever and go out and do this.
Yep.
But it's like they don't have. I mean, it's not that we really knew what we were doing, but it's almost like I would say like a bunch of people that maybe flew in a plane once or jumping into a 747 trying to fly it. Where nowadays it's like everybody has planes. You know what I mean? It's just weird because everything is so accessible now. It's just not as special as it used to be.
Yeah, well, you needed that barrier to entry. It's the same as sound mixers. Unless you have that barrier to entry in camera too, where you have to spend, you know, a few grand to, you know, get your kit together or whatever, then anybody can do it and anybody's out there doing it. But if there's a barrier that, all right, I got to spend 30 or 40 grand before I can have enough stuff to go out and do it, then it just, you know, keeps it down to the people who are really motivated to doing it versus just anybody who can do anything.
Yeah.
It's the same with the films. I mean, you know, I made some sort of a living, you know, at $150 a day or whatever I was making back then, because there was always the next guy making one of these little indie films. I mean, what else did we do, Kevin? We did big packages, the bowling movie.
And, yes. Oh my God.
We did a bunch of stuff after that. We stayed busy, you know, with these guys for a long time. And it was always guys like Phil just going out, getting credit cards, spending $100,000, putting something together, you know. And sadly, very few of them even got to the point where they even got on a VHS or a DVD or whatever, where, you know, you could even, you know, hold it in your hand and say, okay, here's my movie, you know. And that's the case with Phil. He doesn't even know where the prints are. He doesn't have a single copy of it. You know, the only thing that exists are these little grainy clips on YouTube, and that's all.
Now, what happened? Did Phil just did he just walk away from it, or?
I think at some point, you know, they had put it into festivals. He said they had gotten some interest and then maybe won a couple of awards for the screenplay or something or other. But at some point he said he just kind of washed his hands of it, and maybe Ross took over, or you know, or somebody else was doing that part of it. And I don't know. It just
because I you know, my last piece of it was going to the screening on Sunset Boulevard.
Right.
And then I never even knew that it had been actually finished, because that was an incomplete version. But
I mean, so many of these guys, they could never pay to strike the print of the film. You know, they would spend all their money shooting it and all their money paying the crew and whatever. And then when they needed $20,000 to make like a couple copies of the film so they could distribute it or whatever, they never had that money anymore. So the things never got past editing or some little cheap, you know, low resolution that they could have on a VHS or something, but they never were like completed, even these projects, you know. let alone, you know, just put out there and you know, attempted to be sold or whatever. So
yeah.
it's too bad. I mean, Midnight Mambo is a really cute, funny, cool movie.
It is,
you know?
actually.
I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't have done something versus other things that had come out at the same time, you know. I mean,
yeah.
there are other things with lower production values, but you know, they had appeal and you know, they did something, or they furthered the career of the director, or whatever it would have been.
Yeah.
They served a purpose. So
would have been really fun to dig that out and see it.
Yeah. Well, he says, as far as he knows, that Brian or his family now had the prints or whatever. He doesn't even know physically where they are. They've got to be somewhere, I assume. But
well,
yeah.
Where did the clips come from?
The clips came from somebody who videotaped one of the screenings.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And I guess Phil had that tape or something, and was able to post these. Like 10 years ago, when those things got on YouTube, you were only able to put 3 or 4 minutes at a time on YouTube, and that's what that is. Now the whole feature could be on there, but he doesn't have it complete. You know, he doesn't have it all, you know, stitched together anywhere.
So we don't even know if we don't even know if it's been transferred to a current medium.
I'm sure it hasn't. I'm sure it remains in whatever. He said he might have had a digital file at some point, but who even knows what format or what kind of hard drive it would be on.
When he was cutting, when he and Ted were cutting, they were cutting at Christie's over on Victory, kind of Victory and Magnolia, I think.
Oh, wait. We got less than a minute. Sorry. We're having so much fun. We're out of time. Anyway, they limit me to 40 minutes on here, but it has been a pleasure, everybody. Sorry to cut this off so short, but it is great to see everybody.
Yeah, great to see you.
We all have our memories of Midnight Mambo, and it's good that we've all gone on to do other things in the industry.
Yeah.
Stay well.
We're still doing it. Yeah.
I know. Hope everyone's hanging in there. And,
indeed.
Gets through this thing that we're going through, that at least we're all going through
Thanks
together.
for organizing this.
Yeah.
See you guys.
This was fun. I enjoyed doing this.
I put on makeup.
All right.
All right. Nice makeup. Good job.
First time in 2 months.
Well worth it then.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Great to see you.
All right.
Yeah, good to see you. All good.
Good seeing everybody.
All right. See you later.
All right.
Take care. Be well.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Carlos,
Amigo, sé que estás confundido. Sé que no entiendes por qué hice lo que hice. Porque para mí fue suficiente verla y salir de ella. Estoy cansado, pero hasta más cansado de esta lucha interminable. Eso fue lo que me enseñaste. No estoy solo, no estoy muerto. Y tú tampoco. Me parece que tu vida cambiará muchísimo, mejorará. En este gran país realizarás todas tus metas. Te lo mereces. Es tu recompensa por haberme acompañado durante este viaje. Jamás olvidaré lo mucho que te sacrificaste por mí. Eres mi amigo. Te echaré de menos siempre.
Okay.
Never mind.